Welcome everyone. This is the Meshery development meeting, and today is 30th of June. And before we start with the topics, I'd like to mention that we have moved our the Meshery org and the some of the Meshery projects and service mesh performance projects into a new GitHub organization, and this is in relation with Meshery being a CNCS sandbox project. So the Meshery project has not been moved yet, but it will be moved shortly. And many of you guys have been working on some of these projects that have been moved. So it's in a new organization. And yeah, if you feel like you lost some of your permissions that you had before, like just let me know, and there might be some issues with moving things around. So yeah, and we also moved the SMP, the service mesh performance repo similarly. And before we go to the items, I think we have a couple of newcomers on the call today. I'm not sure. Aditya Chatterjee, is this your first time on this call?
Yeah, this is my first call. I joined a couple of days back.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I am Aditya Chatterjee. I am a CS undergrad. I am currently still learning things, figuring things out. So yeah, that's about it. I just joined a couple of days back. So I'm working on the new issue right now.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, Aditya, did you say you're already working on an issue?
Yeah, I am.
Beautiful. You've made yourself right at home. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We also have a couple of others. Thank you, Aditya. And Anshul, would you like to introduce yourself? If you are having mic problems, then you can introduce yourself on the chat. And we also have Kanwal, who is joining us today. Kanwal, would you like to say hi to everyone? Okay. If you are okay, so Kanwal is having some mic issues. He will introduce himself on chat. So are there anybody else who is new on this call? So first of all, welcome to you guys. We have some interesting projects here, and we also have a newcomers call that's happening tomorrow. So it would benefit you if you would jump onto the call, and you'll be introduced to all the layer 5 projects and how you can start contributing. Okay. Thank you guys. Welcome again, and we will move on to the agendas for today. And we also have some open PRs that needs to be reviewed. So one of which is Piyush's PR for unit test in Meshery CTL. If you have other PRs that needs to be reviewed, please add that to the topics. Okay, first of all, we have Rudraksh, who will be showcasing the error code utility. Rudraksh, do you want to take it from here?
Yep. I'll quick share my screen.
Yeah.
Not sure if it works.
You can see diagonal lines for some reason.
So it should work now.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go into the agenda, you can see two pull requests linked there, and that are about error code utility, merging them into CI. If you don't know about error codes utility, it was something made by Michael to analyze error codes in various repositories, and which could be used to update a reference at the site, the layer 5 Meshery talks, and basically the site, and to perform checks in PRs. So integrating it into CI, and this is the one for Meshery server and Meshery CTL. Right now, Meshery CTL does not have support for new error code, so this just takes care of Meshery server. Basically, on every push to master branch, on every commit that is added to the Meshery branch, it would create a new commit, and that would contain the updated error codes. Basically, this is all that. This is where it's being run. And yeah, this is a workaround. This is a little fragile. I'm hopeful that the utility can take care of it somehow if possible. If not, then it should be fine to go with this. And this is about committing those changes. So this is for Meshery server, and I did some experimentation on my branch. So this was a commit that I pushed to master, and this workflow created a new commit here. Now coming to Meshkit, I chose Meshkit as the first one for this workflow as it has support. I mean, as far as I know, does the same thing, clones the Meshery repo and pushes a commit there too, containing the error codes for Meshkit. So if you just take a look at it, and I pushed a commit here, the utility ran, and there you go. A little bit rebase, spoiled it a bit, but yeah, the commit history for the main Meshery repo would look like this. And I pulled it and built it locally. So, yep, this is what it would look like. 3, 2, 1. All these error codes updated automatically. And I'm not sure about one thing as to why the anchor link for this one does not show up. Probably someone from websites will take a look.
Rudraksh, let me ask you real quick, the anchor link for which component?
This one.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, okay. So this documentation is, like, I'm saying this for everyone else's benefit, but that the documentation is auto-generated, and and between the auto-generated docs and making them legible, a little bit of a challenge because there's a lack of white space in certain areas, like the component names, or there's been like camel casing versus other types of casing, and so I don't know so I think that's part of our issue. Something like Meshkit, like technically the K in Meshkit should be capitalized. And in the Meshery adapter library, those are 3 individual words, all of which should have their own capitalization with no hyphenation between. And so, but the anchor that would be used for any of those, like the anchor tag, it doesn't support white space. And so, like, I think those are the small snafus that are happening in the page itself. Those things are definitely solvable within the docs. So actually, anyone who's on the call who fancies themselves, handy with HTML, this is Well, this is a challenge that will get you into working a little bit with Liquid in Jekyll, or not in Jekyll, but Liquid as a, gosh, I guess a templating language that's used by the Jekyll framework. So it's Ruby. So anyway, there's a challenge for anyone.
And this is the one for Meshery. So yeah, that's basically it. Probably, just one second. Some more considerations we might need to make is about access tokens as to L5IO making commits here. It should have the right access to the repo so that this looks a little bit more beautiful. And yeah, please continue.
Thanks. So Rudraksh, one thing that I don't know, so there's a couple of things about what's being done here. First of all, it's fantastic that we are automatically generating error codes. They become extremely useful for people to just do a Google search on and then come to understand what their issue is. It's really helpful. And Michael and Abhishek and yourself and a few others have been involved. There's been a recent call for volunteers, especially for those who are somewhat new to Go, to help make this new framework for error code, or for the way that we publish error codes. If you're on the call, you're either looking for something to do, new to Golang, or very old at Golang, very experienced with Golang rather. Either way, this is a good thing for you to jump into, is to, in Meshery server itself, in the server code, to swap out old references like with new ones, and there's instructions specifically for how to do that. And Rudraksh is showing that here. So if all you got just now was, hey, if you're a newbie to Golang, there's something for you to do, great. Look to the meeting minutes as Rudraksh updates those with this link, and you can dig in. There's a number of easier to grasp issues around the auto documentation of errors in Meshery. Something that we've covered this topic quite a bit in prior meeting minutes. And so all of those meetings are recorded and posted on YouTube, so you can definitely watch them there. One thing that has been done recently that Rudraksh is working on is, well, distributed error code documentation, which I think is really neat. So Rudraksh, I'll quickly ask, of the workflow that you're showing here,
Yep.
The intention is for more or less for this workflow to run in every Meshery repository?
Yes. So, yeah, please continue.
No.
Yes. So basically, yes, in every repository that contains Go code and uses Meshkit library to create errors. So
yeah, that's awesome. And then the really neat thing about this too, that, and we do this in some areas, but not a lot, and that is this workflow will actually be making a commit, a git commit and a git push in to a different repo, to the Meshery repo. So it'll be an auto documenting system. It'll be an auto error code generating system that also then auto documents in a distributed repo way.
yeah.
So that's awesome. You tend to think of distributed systems as, active processes that are running geographically in geographically distributed areas, and that, and all of the challenges that comes with that. But some of the challenges that come with like developing microservices we're seeing right here. Meshery as a project is a collection of microservices. The main Meshery repo contains a few different components: the server, the UI, the documentation, and the command line client, Meshery CTL. All four of those components are in the same repo. That's convenient for some things. It's also inconvenient in terms of like managing their independent release cycles and letting them release independently. There are other components, the adapters and the operators, the custom controllers, mesh sync and things. Those are in different repositories. Keeping them all in sync is in part what Rudraksh is showing here. So distributed. Yeah.
Another thing that I had in mind is, can we have some sort of separate page for adapters? Like there'll be too many of them and it would make this page a little bigger. But yeah, that's exactly why we have connects. And never mind.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of, it's a good TBD, I guess. Time will tell, probably.
Yeah.
Cool. So Rudraksh, I think, yeah, go ahead. You're clear to propagate that workflow, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Well, okay. I'll stop sharing then.
All right, and we might have lost Nivendu. So I'll go ahead and Yep. All right, Nivendu, are you back?
No, like it was me. So I guess if Satyan is in the call, he also had his first adapter up for Meshery, if I'm not wrong. If he's in the call,
Yeah.
he wants to show off yours and stuff. Like, okay.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
It's worth $2. We sure are.
Yeah, so I was working on the issue that the user handler one. So I did some changes on the Meshery errors. Like I think the previous speaker already told about the part, but if you ask me like how did I do, like mm, I did some changes. Like I first get into this error, like what was the error about, and then I read about that error, and then I found that what should be the specific name. Like it was written in that Michael has already told something about how to name the errors. So in that way, I have just named the error. So like for instance, I have written the error as the error Marshall, and then I have passed an object. Like different errors have got different types of objects over there, like error unmarshalling the board payloads or something of that sort. So I've just used that as an object and passed it as both of the parameters, like an error and an object. And then I have did the same thing over here, and in the error handlers.go file, I have changed that. So if you can see in the error Marshall, I have passed both of the parameters, and then I have written what was the error about. There are actually five arguments. The first one is about the code, what was actual the code of the error. Then there is an error.alert, and then the third one was about the short description. The fourth one was about the long description, and then that another one was about the I think mm, the probable cause, and I just forgot. Sorry. And Dhruv, the third one was for the probable cause, right?
Yeah, probable cause and suggested remediation. So that
I got it. Yeah, that was the four parameters we need to pass. And after what with Dhruv, I learned that we shouldn't give full stop on the last strings. And in this long description, we should only pass the error.error function. I think that's all. Anything more I need to say on this?
Sounds like you wrapped it up perfectly, man.
So
Thank you, Sayantan. Yeah, Lee, go ahead.
this is great. This is a great example of exactly what we were just talking about people jumping in and helping be rid of the old style error logging and doing the new style, which is a lot more robust and dynamic. And so this is an appropriate moment to pause and ask, is this work of interest to anyone on the call? Now is the best time to raise your hand and get introduced to Satyan.
Yeah. So for me, maybe.
Actually, Lee, I would also like to help out. I've said this before, but I will do it. Start doing some of the stuff today.
I also think like Kaushambi would also like to jump in, right? He mentioned on chat. Good. Thank you, Sayantan. Thank you, Gaurav. Uh, so all of the resources are there on the meeting minutes and in the chat, and we also have a docs on how you can migrate, like swap out these errors. So if you are interested, then uh, this will be a good place to jump in. And nice. Let's move on to the next item. Abhishek, would you like to talk about the Meshery operator PR?
Sure. So this is basically based on a small feature that I had added on Meshery operator. Let me just quickly share my screen to show what it is about. Oops. The PR is already up on this, but unfortunately I won't be able to show a Dockerized demo because I'm unable to merge it. However, I can show you a local demo. Basically, uh, I can run the Meshery operator loop. And so what the PR is about is that when Meshery operator is deployed in the cluster, it spins up two controllers, which are mesh sync and Meshery broker. And basically, the feature that I added is that when Meshery operator is killed or when it is stopped, it also removes the controllers that it created. So if my terminal is visible in the right hand side, I just started my Meshery operator. In the left, it created my two containers, which are broker and mesh sync. So when I stop my Meshery operator, it will terminate these two instances. Is what the minor feature that I'm talking about. I'll just wait for broker to start and then. So apart from this minor feature, this PR also covers uh, the other the other items that I mentioned here. Basically, there were some fixes around the queue builder manifest that we have, uh, and yeah, that's mostly about it. So yeah, so broker is running now, and mesh sync is also, it will be up in a bit.
And is it by a helm or it is a simple manifest?
It's actually neither, because operator creates this as a
as a controller object. Like it does not have a manifest. It internally creates the object itself.
Okay, so whenever I want to remove, then I have to manually remove it.
No. So this is just a corner case that is being handled. Ideally, Meshery CTL would. So Meshery or Meshery CTL will be removing the operator. But in case of something that went wrong, and if someone manually deleted operator, it won't. The controllers will not be left back as a residue. So basically now if I stop my operator, it terminates whatever the controllers that it created.
Okay.
So yeah, that's mostly about what my demo is. Is there any review or comment from anyone?
Yeah, Abhishek, any concern over the race condition of someone starting and stopping and trying to start again?
Yeah, it works. As in, while even while it is creating, if you immediately stop it, it will start terminating it. Uh, it won't wait for it to create.
Okay.
So it's just creating now, and I immediately stopped it, which means it will not create. It will just terminate it.
Is Aditi, she's not on the call, is she? No. There's a question or a concern about those people who have deployed Meshery when they run Meshery CTL system update. That updates the vast majority of the components for Meshery. And I know we've had discussions about that updating the operator and the custom controllers as well. And I think that has been accounted for, but I'll bring it up.
So the operator is currently not versioned. It's fetched from master. So uh, there is no update. There is no logic of update or delete in case of operator.
Okay, so so Mesh Sync as a custom controller, it is versioned. Is that correct?
Yeah, as in even that is it always points to stable latest.
Okay, that's fine. But it's still as long as we're versioning and releasing the operator, the custom controllers, it's fine that their deployments are always a subscription, to stable latest. That's good. It's desired. But the but so then that makes the job easier for Meshery CTL system update. Largely, it makes it easier that what would need to be done is that those pods just need to be
Delete.
Deleted and recreated. And so can we confirm that Meshery CTL system update does that?
I'll need to. Is Navendu aware if it does stop and start?
Yeah, it does. Like it basically deletes all the pods, and that's the controller recreate it.
Perfect. Cool. That's great.
And we had an issue where, like, sometimes when we stop Meshery and Kubernetes, like Mesh Sync and Broker are not getting deleted, right? Like,
yeah, this one addresses that.
Okay. So other comments?
Yeah, so not basically in this context, but is there a mechanism of taking a backup of the Meshery as a whole?
Yeah, say it again. Is there the concept of taking a backup of the Meshery deployment, like
Yes.
a Meshery? server.
Yes.
There is
Mostly settings and configurations.
Right. Yeah. There's kind of two. Maybe we should write this down so that it's a little more succinct. There are it's a great question, and it largely comes down to the part of the purpose of a Meshery provider, that Meshery provide a couple of things. Meshery server itself doesn't, like, by design, it doesn't address. So one of those is identity, that it's the provider that offers identity. And then another area of consideration is persistence or persistent storage, that like for identity, part of the concern there is like, hey, look, those get into secret things, and it's slightly to the side of what we're trying to focus on for Meshery server itself. Let's let something else, let's have an extension point for identity. For persistence, it kind of the same thing follows, is like, oh, persistence is hard. People get super, like, justifiably super upset when data goes missing. And it's kind of a side note, like it's not the primary purpose of the project, the proper project, so to speak. And so it leaves that to providers. So the local provider, the built-in provider in Meshery, that it's called none when you sign in. It mounts the local file system of the deployment that or the host that it's deployed on. And actually, Abhishek, correct me. So on a Docker host, that's true. Meshery server its deployment will mount portions of the local file system to, like, retrieve kubeconfig, to retrieve the Meshery application info under .meshery, under the user's like .meshery folder. But in a Kubernetes deployment, is it mounting, is it using temporary storage in?
It's empty dir.
So even in Docker deployment, the .meshery folder is not mounted currently, and in even in Kubernetes, it's just a in container storage, and it's not a persistent volume or anything.
And so therein, so in part, that's where, like, a provider like the Meshery cloud provider, it provides persistent storage, so it keeps it remote, and then offers persistence of configuration settings and performance test results and patterns and filters and applications. Some things that I don't think are exposed in the UI just yet, but some early features. And so,
so at least maybe in Meshery CTL command to take a backup. So
there's there's a couple of ways to, this is good. This is a good, we should write down what some of those manual steps are, like, because there's a couple of areas of concern. I think, like, one of those is maybe your old test results, like how to maybe back those up or export those. And then another concern is, like, your specific configuration settings. Like, hey, your preference is to have like the performance profiles and the preferences that you might set as a user for like load generation preferences, that kind of a thing.
And maybe if I apply some filters, so those kind of configurations.
Yeah, definitely. Then those would be stored in pattern file. Like, you're right. It's patterns, it's filters. And then there's another area of the UI that is probably helpful for everyone to see, and helpful in this discussion with Samir. And that is, I think I have a Meshery system running here. So here's a Meshery system. There are a couple of upcoming features that I think Samir, I think you specifically, you're signed up for the alpha program to do alpha testing on MeshMap.
Yes.
And so just as soon as that starts, which I think Dhruv is going to do any day now, you'll start to see some additional menu items, because these are almost ready to be released, almost ready for people to poke at and use. And so it's filters, patterns. Now there's still work to be done, which is in part why they're not generally published. Part of the work to be done is that, yeah, exactly what you're saying about, like, if you've designed and applied a filter to a given deployment, then that information gets persisted, and some of that gets, depending upon how you do it, you can either have that designed into your pattern, or there's a long answer here. Basically, the short of it is, in terms of persistence, in terms of the ability to back up, a lot of that revolves around providers. People can still do some of those things manually.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions in chat. Vijay asks, where does all the data exist now?
Yeah, good question. So here, let me send a link to the docs, because otherwise I'll use the next 20 minutes to describe that. Providers. So here's.
And to sum up Husseina's question and the discussion on chat, Meshery CTL does not track the version of the operators currently. So we always pull it from the latest release of the in GitHub. So that needs to be changed, and I think Aditi's been working on considering that support. Yeah, so that. Okay, Lee has shared the link to the doc in chat. Do you have any other comments before we move on to the next item? Okay, next up we have a demo on the REST API docs by Kaushambi. Kaushambi, would you like to share your screen?
Hi everyone, so I have been facing problems, so I just and navigate up to the Meshery document.
Your voice is a bit low, Kaushambi.
Hello?
Yeah, there
so
is
I
some.
have been facing issues, like I said, so I'd like if you could navigate us to the Meshery document. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like if you could navigate us to the Meshery document, because I have been facing some issues.
Would you like to share your screen and show the demo? Show the changes?
So I am on my cell phone because my system has been facing issues. So I will be sharing the.
Okay. Let me try to show some of your work. Okay, I have shared the screen.
Yeah, thank you. So the the problem with this documentation was that the header was overlapping with the options, and it wasn't really visible. The headers weren't really visible, so I bold the headers and fix the overlapping issue. Also, I fixed the tables that here. Those were displayed to the side of the table, to the side of the column heading instead of below it. So I did that, and I kind of I also changed the font style of the document, the headers. I uh, I bolded all the text that needs to be bolded. Can you navigate me to the GraphQL document? Yeah. So this was self-generated page, and I would like to thank Bruce for helping me out with the issues. I changed them. The changes I made was the return type, the input type, and the fields were not visible. So I bolded that, and I changed the argument technique also. I bolded that out, and I kind of changed the field. Yeah, that's the small changes I made.
Thank you. It really looks great. And yeah, Samir has a suggestion that we can have a plus sign to let the users know that that this is expandable. So yeah, that is something you might be interested in to look into, Roshanbi. So, but from the previous state, this looks really nice, neat, and yeah, this looks really good. Uh, Anybody has some suggestions for Koshambi?
I think the Swagger documentation is like this, right? So people know that they have to click on it. There is no need for a plus sign, I feel.
Yeah, maybe like it may not be obvious that it could be like, I'm not sure. Anybody else have suggestions on that? Yeah, the mouse pointer changes to a hand.
Yeah, one other thing to consider as this suggestion is digested is Navendu, if you don't mind, if you go to the contributing section in the docs, there are new sections about contributing to different components. One of those is Meshery docs. If you go to Meshery docs, it will tell you, like, with the various frameworks that it's using and how to work with Jekyll, but it should also tell you, I think if on the very bottom, there's a section called using the features of Meshery docs. Now, I think we only have one feature published, and that is, like, if you want to present someone a snippet, a code snippet, and then let them conveniently click a clipboard button, to like copy to clipboard, that's great. And so, but if you're contributing to docs, how do you know that there's a copy to clipboard function? Well, hopefully you read this documentation, and it will tell you how to use that. Well, we're missing another feature of these docs. Another feature is there's this expandable and collapsible div, or like there's already a feature that lets you expand and collapse content, because sometimes the docs go on forever and you don't, depending upon what you're looking for, you may not care for all that detail. So one there's a call for help right now, right here, right in this area. Someone needs to document what I'm about to say next, which is, Navendu, if you go to supported platforms and to Windows, or yeah, I believe that there's an example of this expandable, collapsible thing that I'm referring to. So there's prior art for this particular challenge. So one, right here, we're seeing the clipboard, right? See the copy to clipboard, that's great, right? That's one feature. The other feature, and by the way, this is not intuitive. If you go back up, because actually the venue didn't necessarily see the WSL one. If you click that, okay, well, great. It like expanded and it showed you some stuff. It show hide, right? Like that's not horrifically intuitive. So there's some thought that probably needs to be given as to how that is used. There's another area in the docs that uses that same show hide function. Oh, the reason I'm pointing this out is one, we need to document that. Two, to Samir's point, and I think Husseina's point, we need to be consistent, like with how it is that we need to be intuitive and we need to be consistent. And so, yeah.
If I make a quick comment, see, I know it's not the same thing, it's not documented, but in Visual Studio, they have this concept called region. So it'll put a little plus sign and it'll put, the first line there. So if you click the plus, it expands the rest of the stuff, and then the plus turns into a minus. I mean, it may not be. I mean, it may not be intuitive or whatever. I just wanted to mention that for whatever it is worth.
Makes sense. So on this, it sounds like Kashambi, Samir, Husseina might continue in Slack and sort of review what's
Yeah,
available.
I'd like to work on this like personally.
Nice. Good deal. Good deal.
Thank you guys. Thanks for suggestions. Anything else on this before we move on?
I wanted to point something out. Like this particular dogs are auto-generated, right? So the thing is, whenever a newcomer will try and come to update the dogs, let's say for UI, they will most probably update the MD file, or in case of Swagger, the YAML file itself to update the docs. Like, is there a good place we could specify that they are auto-generated, because most of them will first like update the generated file itself to make changes in docs if they are not aware of it.
Yeah, totally true. Great. And someone else can make another suggestion. I'll jump in and suggest two things. One is that the place where people are most likely going to look to edit this file or this area is like right here. When they're looking at it, they're going to think, well, that needs to be changed, or there should be a note. And so they're going to click like edit this page, likely. And like, well, and then, hey, that's going to be wrong because their changes will be overwritten. And so it would be like somewhere there would ideally be a note on this page saying, hey, wait a second, don't do direct edits. See these instructions for how to do those edits. And that link would probably go back to the page that we were just on, the contributing docs page, that would describe the fact that the API docs are where you yeah.
So, like, should we disable edit this page for that particular sections, or like we should redirect them to docs? I don't know, because that's a confusion that people will have.
Yeah.
I'm getting a feeling.
Yep, totally. Sure, sounds good. Or like, yeah, I'll leave it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
in terms of how far you want to take it, because what'll happen is, because like that logic that says edit this page, that's a central script that's referenced by every single page on the site that is, you know, relatively small and just says, grab the name of the page and create a hyperlink with the name of the page so that when you click edit this page, it takes you right to this specific page. And that's great. That's a nice convenience operation. But in there, you'll need to have an if statement that, you know, says, well, though, unless there's front, you have to then create your own, our own like front matter value that says like, show edit this page or not type thing, like some flag that you use to then not show that. And so it's totally achievable.
Okay, I get your point. You can do something what you suggested. That
Okay, thank you guys. We the next item is updates on Meshery UI for performance profiles. Lee, Nitish, would any of you like to show it?
Yeah, actually, this is great. This is probably a good thing to end on. This is just a quick note that Nitish and I will spend a little bit of time directly after this meeting talking about a couple of small enhancements in Meshery's UI. Small enhancements on Meshery's UI on this area here. So here. All right, right here is, there's a couple of UX changes that we will look to do. And rather than describe them to you all right here, Nitish and I were just gonna meet up and talk about a couple of those changes. And so I figured we would call that out in case working on Meshery's UI, if that's of interest to anyone, you know, please feel free to hang out on this same Zoom after the call is over, and then we'll start to talk about this. As we go to wrap up, I'll ask this real quick. So I see a couple of people who are here from the recent hackathon that happened this last weekend that Aditya Krishna is an organizer of. So I know Bharath Kumar is here, having been a participant in that hackathon. Anyone else participated in that hackathon?
Good day, Krishna here, Krishna Kaustubh. Even I was the team member of the CIT hackathon. We secured the third prize
Nice.
along with Bharat.
Nice, very good. Were the two of you guys on the same team?
Yeah, we were on the same team. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, looking at a couple of winners then. All right, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, good. So I know Navendu and Aditya Krishna have been talking about some next steps for those that have been involved in that hackathon. So good. Nice to see you guys. Good to have you.
And like, if you guys are interested, like Meshery UI is one area to look into, like that needs some improvement. So stick around if you are interested. So we are almost out of time, and I think we are going a little bit more today, where Lee will be discussing about Meshery performance profiles in the UI. So if you are interested, you can stay with us, and for others, this is the end of the meeting, and we will see you in the Friday's community call. And if you are a newcomer, jump on tomorrow's call and learn something new. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye, Navendu. Thanks.
Bye.